Hey guys, I'm MG, and today we'll be looking at Spider-Man, which is a 2002 American superhero film that was directed by Sam Raimi and written by David Coep. This film is also based off the comics with the same name that was made by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, and this film also stars Tobey Maguire as a main character. However, why don't we stop swinging around and instead review this film right now. First off, the performances are pretty good. Tobey Maguire was really compelling as Peter Parker, and he fits the role really well. Willem Dafoe was probably the best performance out of this entire film, with where he knows exactly when to change his tone and attitude from being a scary villain to a person who's really struggling to keep his business running. So, great job, Dafoe. Kirsten Dunst was really natural in her performance, which suited her character really nicely. James Franco does a great job showing Harry's personality. Cliff Robertson was really engaging as Peter's uncle. Rosemary Harris does an excellent job of being a supportive aunt towards Peter. And J.K. Simmons was really fun as J. Jonah Jameson, and he fitted the character perfectly. The action scenes were really well directed and entertaining as well, with a school fight making great use of sound effects and cinematography. The cage fight was really amusing. The car chase was enticing all the way from the car to the house. The first fight with Green Goblin was really tense and exciting. The house fire fight was really awesome, and the final battle was really solid as well, from the bridge to the abandoned house. So yeah, good action set pieces. The story was really simplistic, but it was effective as well, and with decent pacing only made it flow more naturally, which is pretty neat for a story that doesn't have a lot of depth. But I like that it doesn't have a lot of depth, since this is an origin story of Spider-Man. The villain Green Goblin was really terrifying and proved to be a good threat towards not only Peter, but everyone really, and he is also funny as well. My favorite scene with him is him singing his version of Itsy Bitsy Spider, which is honestly amazing for this film. Aunt May was really sympathetic, and her love for Peter and Uncle Ben felt realistic. Uncle Ben was also really endearing as a character, who had a strong relationship with Peter and May. And his death scene had a lot of emotional weight to it, that has only benefited from the main characters grieving after his death. The music by Danny Elfman was really exceptional, and heightened the tension and emotion that the scenes were bringing out. The cinematography was also really pleasing to look at, so good job Sam Raimi. The visual effects are a little dated, but it's not bad. This movie is good, but me personally, I don't really vibe with it. And I think that my biggest issue with the movie is the script. The script is fine, I mean I like the story and some of the characters are well written, but I don't really find Peter, Harry or MJ interesting. I mean, they're not terrible characters, but I would be lying if I said that they weren't underwritten, because they are to some extent. I did feel for Peter in some scenes, and he did have some funny moments like the "did your husband give that to you" line, but outside of that, he just doesn't really have a lot to work with as a character. Like, he's shy, he's jealous, he's vulnerable, he has a crush on MJ, he wants to save a city. And I'm sorry, but that isn't a compelling character study to go off of, especially for the main character. I don't even know his relationship with his uncle and aunt. I mean, it does change after he gets his powers, which is fine, but we don't really know anything about his relationship with them before he gets his powers, which is super odd. In fact, in the first scene with his uncle and aunt, we already start to see the difference without knowing what it was before, which is sad because I liked May and Ben. But it is what it is, I guess. Harry was really bland and didn't have a distinct enough personality to be interesting or endearing, and didn't affect the plot at all. But it was a little funny when he used Peter's exact words to seem smart and impress MJ. That's a chuckle. MJ is just a typical damsel in distress with nothing really interesting about her character and only serves to be a damsel in distress. And she barely has any chemistry with Peter as himself or Spider-Man. And I don't understand how she fell in love with Peter at all. I mean, after he saved her as Spider-Man, she fell in love with Spider-Man. But from her perspective, she doesn't know who Peter is. And so she just lost her feelings of Spider-Man without any reason, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, you can say that she started to fall in love with Peter in their earlier scenes with them together, but I don't think she did, because Peter said something in the hospital which made her fall in love with him instantly. There wasn't any growth for her character whatsoever. I'm sorry, but I don't understand her character at all, and the love triangle between Peter, MJ and Harry is so pointless, and never feels concrete enough for me to like it. I mean, both Peter and Harry love MJ, but they never go war to war with each other, and instead just treat it as something meaningless to the characters and story. So yeah, these three characters are kind of bland and didn't have a lot going for them, which makes them kind of boring, but let's move on. I also think that while the pacing is decent, it feels a bit rushed sometimes. Like, Peter gets bitten in the first 10 minutes without knowing really anything about him, and him getting good at his powers happened way too quickly, and adjusted to them unrealistically fast, which doesn't make a lot of sense, and that unfortunately gets rid of some emotional weight or character study that this story could have shown. Plus, this film would have been better at 1 hour and 45 minutes rather than 2 hours, and I was ready for it to start wrapping up at the climax. There were a few plot holes here and there, like why did Peter throw that lunch? How did people not see him swinging around without his mask? How come he didn't get into any trouble with the school after beating Flash? And it could have been easily resolved, but whatever. I also don't think we got enough of the characters I actually liked. J. Jonah Jameson is only in this for 5 minutes, which is frankly absurd, since he's very fun. Aunt May and Uncle Ben don't get enough screen time, which gets rid of some emotional weight, and I feel like the Green Goblin isn't as much of a threat to the people as he could have been. Yes, he attacked numerous locations and committed lots of murders, but it could have been fleshed out even more to fully justify his threat towards society, and make him a more excellent villain than he already was. Overall, despite this film's problems, I still think it's a good enough superhero film that should be watched at least once. So, not bad. 7.1 out of 10. Goodbye everyone, and thank you for watching. Bye.